Hi, this is Zoi Sullivan, and I'm with Althea Kelly, and she's a breast cancer survivor, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story. So, Miss Kelly, when you got diagnosed, how was it, and what kind of situation were you in? How did you first know you had breast cancer?
I first found out I had breast cancer because I had a big lump on my breast, and I was 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
So I thought it was like something with my pregnancy, with my baby's milk forming and things like that. So it just kept on getting bigger and bigger, and it started hurting real bad. You know, I kept on ignoring it because I got 7 kids. So, you know, I'm like, I don't want to keep going to the doctor complaining about every little bump. So when I went to my first time I went, I noticed how they were looking when they was taking my little mammogram and things like that. I'm like, oh, well, whatever. So the lady was like, well, you want to come back later on and talk to a specialist? So I put it off, like, ain't that wrong with me, whatever. So when I went to my OB doctor the next day, I told her, I was like, I got this lump on my breast, and they wanted me to speak to a specialist. So she said instead of me running around, she would hook me up with Riverside with, you know, my OB, and then get me there for my breast health. So the first time I went, the doctor had told me she was 90% sure.
Wow.
I had it. So they induced my labor that night.
Oh, so before it spreaded, they already induced your labor that night?
Yeah, they induced my labor. Yeah, I was 8.5 months. So they induced my labor that night and started me up on chemo like 2-3 weeks later.
So how did you feel when you first heard it, like while you were pregnant?
I was devastated.
Right.
Oh, right. I was devastated. Like, wow. I mean, I literally spazzed out. They were looking at me like, because she was like, you know, the doctor, she just basically told me and like walked away. Like, and I'm like, for real? She's like, yeah. And she was like, do y'all got anybody I want to call? And I'm like, you got a phone book? Because I want to call everybody.
Right.
Each and every person in that phone book. So I took it real hard. I was just like, wow, this is a lot. This is a lot. Because I was 35, you know, so I was like, wow, I got all these kids. Now I got cancer. I'm like, I'm gonna die. That's the first thing you think when you get cancer. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna leave all these kids running around. I was like, wow. But I mean, from June, I got diagnosed with June the 24th. From then to now, I'm doing a lot better about it.
That's good.
But at first,
what helped you with that?
Just knowing that I gotta make it.
Right.
I gotta make it. I gotta make it for my children. I got a granddaughter. I'm like, I got to make it. I got to make it. And I just.
So you keep pressing on.
Yeah.
Were there any organizations or any people specific that just really comfort you through it?
My mother, she comforted me a lot. My children, everybody was there for me.
Yeah.
They was there for me.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, they helped me out a lot. They did. I had my times, but I'm dealing with it way better. I'm dealing with it way better than what I was. Because at first, I just was like, I just wanted to lay in my bed. I just could not get up. I got this little baby. She's crying. I just didn't want to deal with nobody. I'm like, I don't want to deal with you at all.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And also, by us being, you know, young and African Americans, when I spoke with somebody over the phone and asking them, can I get mammogram, they were like, you know, you have to be 40 years old. And I think that is just so discouraging because, like you said, you were 35 when you got diagnosed, and as you waited,
she said I already had it over a year.
Wow.
Because it was stage 3.
Wow.
And it had moved to my lymph nodes. So it was just like real scary for her because I know it's only 4 stages. So when she said stage 3, I was really like, wow, I mean, what is going to go on? And she was like, it had went to my lymph nodes. And from the start, they were like, we got to remove your breast. And everything was just like moving so quick. I was like, wow, I got to have this baby tonight. I don't have nothing together for this. They're ready to put me in the hospital and do that. I got to situate my kids. I'm like, oh. So then from there, I'm just like, wow. I was going to school, and then I didn't know that the chemo would affect you like it did. Because, you know, everybody like,
so how does it affect you? How did the chemo affect you?
It just like had me not want to do nothing. Had me not, because I had these phobia with these needles.
Right.
Because before I found out I had breast cancer, I thought I was a picture of health. I was like, you know, I was never.
So what does the chemo consist of? What did you have to go through?
Intravenous drugs, like they would put a port in my chest, and that scared me because you know they placed it under my skin, and then they would still have to stick me. Because you know when they put the port, I'm thinking that they wouldn't have to stick me every time. I'm thinking they're gonna hook me up to something. Every time I go, they sticking me, and then I broke out from there, and then they put a PICC line. I broke out from there, and I was just like, oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I just kept on praying about it, like, Lord, all I know is I got to get well.
Right.
I got to get well. I started dealing with it. I just cut off all friends that was just getting on my nerves or just calling with
negative.
I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Because every time my phone rings, they're like, girl, and I'm like, If it ain't
Right.
about my life or something, I don't want to hear
You have
about
to
it.
have something positive
I
to do.
don't
You have
want
to
to
be
hear about
careful
it.
what you entertain. And I was going to ask you say you had surgery Tuesday. So what does the surgery consist of that you have to do?
Removing my left breast.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that? Are you scared or?
I'm more scared to get put asleep.
Okay.
But I guess I done comforted myself and got past the part of my breast being removed because it's something I just feel I gotta do. Because I know a lot of people that had breast cancer. And it's like when they keep their breasts on, it's like it's spread. The people that I know, but I don't know. That's just something I feel I gotta do. I'd rather remove it and be comforted thinking that I'm gonna be cancer free than keeping it on and every day I'm like, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back.
Right. So you're gonna remove it, and then you're just gonna have one breast, or you're gonna move both of them?
Remove one, but I plan on getting the reconstructive surgery down the
Okay.
line.
Would that consist of building it back up?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
After that.
And then will the cancer completely be gone after that?
That's what I'm praying for.
That's good. All right. If you had anything to say to the viewers, anybody that's going through it, or maybe people who don't even know, what would you tell them of, your situation or about?
I just would tell them to just stay positive, and I mean, if you have any different lumps or anything feels different, just get a mammogram or get checked out right away. Because like I said, I found out in May and kept putting it off. When I finally made it to get my first biopsy, it was like 2.5, in May, when I first got my first biopsy, it was 2.5 centimeters by June the 24th, where they actually diagnosed me all the way. It had grew 5.5 centimeters.
Mm.
But with me being pregnant, it was like your hormones, makes it grow more. So
Wow.
that's why they had induced my labor and everything. But it had grew so big. I mean, it was like big there, obvious. Hurt, it was painful. I mean, every time I would pick up my little other 2-year-old, she would touch my breast. I'm like, oh, it would just hurt so bad.
Oh,
But whatever chemos they had me on, it was very aggressive because it went away. It's all the way gone. But
that's good.
I'm just gonna get my breasts taken off just to, be
Make
sure.
sure.
Just to
Right.
Yeah, so it's something I really don't want to do, but I just know I got to.
Yeah. And your hair looks pretty, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it. I know some people are sensitive about it. So thank you, and thank you, Sisters Network of Columbus.
Mhm.